we go. Right, so going in for the short qualifying session here today for Slav Talk Racing. It was chaotic in the last race in Austria. Lots of moves being made. I've just realised I've been mute the entire time. Whoops. So yeah, this is Slav Talk Racing. What's it called? The Italian Grand Prix around Monza. This track very much loved by the drivers and the teams, but there is one corner on this track that is feared more than any, and it's turn 1, especially on lap 1. So we are just waiting for the drivers to go, as you see, putting the track map up and putting the lap data up today for qualifying. That data will go off in the race unless we need it, but I don't think we will, so all good. So let's see who will be the first one to go out on track here in Italy. We have a couple new drivers today that I'm noticing. Henk Hupperskoten in the Williams. We've got, I think he's the only new driver that I can see here. Psycho, or maybe Psycho. Alex M, he was there last time. Yeah, we have a Ferrari going out. That is Luco Siux. We have one of the Alpines out on track. That is potentially Alex. No, it's not. It's Christy. So Christy, the first one on track. The first one heading through Sector 2 in this Italian Grand Prix. This is a track with many chaotic moments in sim racing. In my experience commentating over retro racing at Monza, it was certainly chaotic, especially at this part that Christy has just gone past, with a certain Kai hitting a certain Techno, or the other way around, Techno hitting Kai. Techno was a lap down, crashed with Kai, and there was an outrage after that one. Also pile-ups in Ascari as well in retro racing. Very, very chaotic racing in that league for its first season back a couple of months ago, towards the end of 2025. As Christy he's doing an installation lap, which is interesting. So it looks like Bryce will be the first one to set a lap. He is very quick, and he was the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix, round 2 of this league. But here at Monza, let's see what the Mercedes man can do. Starting his lap, heading down the straight, and seeing if he can hit the brakes later than any other driver. This will be a good benchmark. I'm not seeing. Oh no, there's Flobolov here today, as well as Mental Sun. They are the front 3 to be looking out for in this race. We have a Sauber going over the grass at the first chicane. Round Curva Grande into La Rogia chicane. Braking around the 100-meter board. Going over the curb on the exit there. Is now round the Lesmo corner. We're at Lesmo 1, now round Lesmo 2. The double right-hander down into the Ascari chicane. This is where carnage has happened, not just in retro racing, in real life in F1, and also in ALR back through all the seasons of that league as well. There's always chaos at that corner. It does catch drivers out. It does catch many croppers around there. I've been one of the croppers to be caught in ALR, but Bryce hasn't been caught a cropper. He's gone over the line to set the benchmark of a 1:19.6. Can that be beat by Luco Siux? Siux over the line, on board with the Scuderia. At home, goes to P1 by half a second quicker than his rival. Raikkonen also on a lap. Henk is ending his outlap. Flobolov takes pole by a long way, and Alex M slots into a P3 in the Alpine, and then he gets beat by 6 thousandths of a second by Graham Shifty, as Flobolov taking the chicane and going straight through the boards we have one of the Haas cars going over the line here. That is Mr. Tower starting the lap. We're going to stay with him for this lap. Heading down to turn 1 and 2. Very nice and tidy through there. No acrobatics through there. No spins, no slides. Just nice and neat and tidy over the grass before he flies round Curva Grande. Corner that's flat in modern day F1 cars in terms of the throttle, but in terms of the old F1, it never used to be flat. It used to be the first heavy braking zone on the track way back in the 60s of F1. But here in the 20s, the 2020s should I say, it's completely flat to the floor. Mr. Tower though heading towards the next corner. Raikkonen set a 1:21.3. He's P6. His teammate's coming over the line, and his teammate. Oh no, that's not his teammate. That's Raikkonen. So we have Henk. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it was Henk. So Henk must have invalidated on his lap then, because there's no time for him. His Psycho, who is Mr. Tower's teammate, he goes to P7 and a mere 900ths behind the Raikkonen, but he's 3/10 ahead of Mag Thatcher. Now we go to the man in P12 who goes to P6, halves his position, 119.7 for Mr. Towers. Now we just wait on Henk Hooper should. This is a terrible name for commentary, I'm sorry. I'm just going to call him Henk. Right, Henk, Arimus and Christy, we're waiting on their lap times. And I think Arimus is about to give us one of the lap times we were looking for over the line. And he goes to P2. 4/10 off of the pole time. Closest man to Flobberlob's purple lap is Arimus. Meanwhile, we have one of the V-Carbs, Mental Sun. He could be a challenger for Flobberlob, who became the 3rd winner out of 3 drivers in this league so far. He's heading down and around Parabolica. Is he setting the world alight? Is he setting the times alight, should I say? Over the finish line, and he goes 2/10 behind Mental Sun. Mental Sun goes behind Flobberlob. So close yet so far. We have Mag Thatcher on an invalid lap. We have Psycho also coming into the pits and running into the back of Mag Thatcher. A bit of miscommunication there, as Thatcher gets a penalty for the collision with Psycho. Don't really agree with that one. Thatcher retires from the session, so Mag Thatcher's not going to go any further in the session. But we'll see if anyone else can set any representative times. We have no one on a flying lap right now. I think Mental Sun and Arimus, I am right in thinking they are on in laps in which they're coming into the pits at the end of their lap. The next person to set a lap will be Luco Siux, who is coming around here. He was involved in a bit of a crash in Belgium for the Late Breakers Club Grand Prix there yesterday in the Riverside tier. I was racing in that tier in one of the Williams. Had a pretty decent race, but this guy, he had a bit of pace on him. He got in a couple of incidents in the race though. But the number 2 Ferrari looking to bounce back to try and make some amends here in Slav Talk Racing. And we'll see if he can potentially make an impression here. He's been one of the best midfield drivers in the league so far. He's currently P4 at the moment. Him and Arimus are right up together on pace. Into turn 1. Nice and tidy through the first chicane. Very late on the brakes though, compared to drivers like Mr. Towers from earlier. Gonna go around into the 2nd and 3rd corners on the track. Very nicely done, I have to say, by Luco Siux. He's on a very competent lap as it stands. Nearly invalidating though on the exit of the second Lesmo, of the first Lesmo. Around the second Lesmo, he's a bit more tidy, but I have to say he's He's very aggressive around this lap. It looks very flamboyant, but he's 4/10 up. That could put him ahead of Arimus. Don't think it'll put him ahead of Mental Sun yet, but it depends on what his last sector is going to be. Flying down the straight into the last corner of the track, which is now named Alboreto, but I still call it Parabolica, as it was called for so many years. Out of this last corner, flying down the straight over the start-finish line, and into P3, and he goes a 10th behind Mental Sun, so he slots in between the Red Bull and the Racing Bull. Meanwhile, Graham Shifty not going to be able to do a lap. Alex M is doing a lap as we speak. What are the Williams on a lap? And we have, here's Bryce then. He set a 1:19.6 before. He's gone up to P5. His race pace this season has been great, but he seemed a little bit off in quali pace. I have to say he's down in P5. But to be fair, he was like that in Belgium, I think, as well, when he still came through for a P2. But his quali pace lets him down sometimes, but his race pace certainly makes up for it. Here in Monza, we're around the halfway stage of qualifying. G Shifty now trying to improve on his previous best time. Arimus is on an out lap. Luko Siux is on an in lap. One of the Williams, I think that could be Raikkonen who's on a lap, or potentially it is Raikkonen. Wait, he's heading out the Ascari chicane. Number 2 Williams heading down, emptying his electric energy, using all 1100 brake horsepower from within that Formula 1 car engine. Over the line, no, he's coming into the pits. Bit underwhelming. G Shifty though, what's he gonna do with his 1120 brake horsepower? No, not brake horsepower, normal horsepower should I say. Over the line, it's a P4, so he goes ahead of Arimus by a mere 200ths of a second. So Arimus doesn't have to do much to overcome that gap. And what is he doing about it? He's 3,000 up at the moment. He needs just a whiff more to get ahead of G Shifty. 200ths ahead at the moment. What can he do? He's heading around. Flobbelob improves the lap time for pole position and makes it now a half a second gap to Mental Sun. It was a 1:19.1 earlier, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, that was... Oh, it was a 1:19.1 earlier for one of the drivers. It's now a 1:18.1. So lap time's improving by around over a second here in Monza. But you head through turn 1 and 2. I'm just going to share the stream around a little bit first. 1 second. Any clips I do, they'll be on Twitch first and then they'll be on YouTube second. Here comes G Shifty, he's on an in lap. I think is Mr. Tower on a lap. No, Psychos is, I think. He's heading around the Parabolica corner, although he is off the pace. The slowest time is a 1:21. Yeah, he's on an in lap, so that's not a proper legitimate lap. By the Haas driver, we have Mental Sun not on a lap. We have Flobbelob not on a lap. Arimus might be on a lap, but I don't think he is. I'm not too sure actually. I'm gonna keep an eye on him though. Heading out of the Ascari chicane, he's over the white line and not invalidated. He's heading down. It's saying that he's got all his battery left, so he might be on an in lap. Heading round. Yeah, he's definitely on an in lap. This is not good. That is not Arimus pace. Hard to tell, but yeah. Here's Mr. Tower then, the only man left on the track for the final 4 minutes of qualifying. So heading round, he's invalid at the moment. Is he going to do another lap or is he going to pit? Let's see. We're going to ride a ball with the Haas, and he is going to pit. We do have Raikkonen on a lap though, so we're going to cut to him in the Williams. Benold has just joined the session. Another decent midfield driver, the teammate to the man who won last time out in Austria. So his Benold's teammates with Flobbelob. Looking for a good result today. We have Raikkonen here. Pole will be Flobbelob, says waits in chat. And I don't see why not, to be honest. He's been on fire all session so far. Let's just hope that his race pace matches that quali pace. His strategy as well, very good, although it nearly cost him. His strategy's good, but it does leave you on the edge of the seat. At least it did in Austria, for sure. So he stayed out on a one-stop strategy, and the win was decided by about 0.4 of a second to Mental Sun. I'm surprised Bryars hasn't set a better lap yet. I reckon he'll... I don't want to jinx him, but I reckon he'll go up further in the session. 0.5 of a second separating Luco from Arimus, which is quite incredible. Heading to turn 1 with Raikkonen then braking at the 150 meter board before turning through turn 1 and 2, really mounting those curbs. I'm surprised he's using that much curb because it is costing him speed around the corner a little bit. It's making the car feel a little bit unsettled on the exits. Braking at the 100 meter board for the Rogier chicane. He avoids the curbs a bit more this time round, and it's helped him out a bit smoother. Heading round Lesmo, nicely done, although he doesn't really use as much of the track as he could. Neither here, he kind of stays off the exit curbs of the 2 Lesmo corners into the Ascari chicane. He's braking again 100 meters before the turn-in, and very smooth, although he could have maybe been a bit tighter on the last part of the Ascari chicane. Heading now down into the Parabolica chicane, Parabolica corner should I say. You go around it, clip the apex, and then accelerate away from it, and then you run to the line as if it's the ice cream van. Run as quick as you can to it and see what time you set, and it's 0.4 quicker than his last time, although it doesn't put him any higher up the order. It's a 1:20.2 for Raikkonen. Meanwhile, we have Benold's on a lap, from what I can see. He's looking to improve. We also have not Raikkonen, Henk Huppelskoten on a lap, as I'm going to struggle to say that in battles. You'll probably just hear me call him Henk, not Henk Huppelskoten in the race. But yeah, we head through with... Shall we just share and stream a minute? Yeah, we're heading down the straight then with Benold's into Parabolica. Oh, he's very wide of the apex. That'll cost him a lot of time. As someone just went up the order, I think, or nope, that's just the yellow flag thing. But over the line, it's a 1:20.6, so 0.4 behind Raikkonen. Decent lap by Benold. We're now going to cut to Henk Huppelskoten, and he's invalidated, which is a shame. He hasn't set a time yet, and he needs to, and he's not going to, because the checkered flag comes out now. So, absolute horror for Henk. We have one of the Mercedes, Bryars, scraping the tyres, heading over the line. I think Alex M is into the pits. Bryars over the line, goes, no, oh, he goes 0.3 up, and he goes to P5. And he goes 9 thousandths behind Arimus. Look at the gap between Luco, Arimus and Bryars. It's very close indeed. As we have G Shifty going up on his lap. We have Mental Sun going over the line and not getting pole position. One of the Haskars heading over the line. Says he's down. And is he down? Yeah, he is. He's very far down. It's a 1:46. For him. Meanwhile, we have the Red Bull coming over the line. He's invalidated. Shame for Arimus. He will stay P4 and will not improve. Will Flobbelob improve? He's 300ths down according to the telemetry in the top corner, as he's heading over the line, and he's set to 1:18.2, so he goes slower than his last time. G Shifty goes over the line and goes to P4, and again, look at the gap between the P3, P4, P5 and P6, all of them have set 118.7s, but it's the 100th column that is separating them in terms of lap time, which is incredible stuff. As meanwhile, that is the end of qualifying. No one else is on a lap, everyone else is done, and that is the end of qualifying. We are waiting for the drivers to be in the pits. What an incredible qualifying session at the end there. But Mental Sun did improve, but just not by enough. That gap between P3 and P6, with the two drivers in the middle as well, that is incredible. 4 drivers separated by under 1/10 of a second. Incredible. Wait saying Monza is pretty good if he can get enough line speed to not overtake. Engine overheating is quite bad at Monza, so each lap you stay behind and it makes it harder to not overtake. So yeah, cooling around the circuit, because you do hear the cars brimming out on the rev limiter in the highest pitch, and it does hurt the cars. But that is your order. As you can see, the men in P10 and P12 both have 5-place grid penalties, so they will drop down the order. Let me have a look at race director. Oh, and that's it. So yeah. That is it. So I'm going to move to the next scene, the race scene, because I don't use the lap data thing for. Has that worked? Should have done. There we go. You can hear me good? Right, good. Alright, let me chuck the stream on here. Oh wait, I need to edit that. Oh no. So we're just waiting for the Grand Prix to start here. Any predictions in chats before the race start? I have a feeling we're gonna see I'm gonna say a Flobolob win, followed by not Mental Sun. I'm gonna be a bit bold and say Bryus P2, then Mental Sun in P3. And then we got that whole battle with G Shifty, Arimus, and who else was it? G Shifty, Arimus, Bryus, and it's one of the Ferraris, Luco Sierks, which was a very good battle indeed. All good. Right, that's the... Right, so... Let me check when we're readying up, because there is a time for it. Normally. I think it's 5 past, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, 8:06, so 3 minutes time we will race. As long as things go to plan. No one readies up. Right, yeah, just got this little break before the race starts. Yeah, it's cool that I'm able to do the streams on YouTube now. It means I don't have to re-upload them. So normally I'd have to download them and then re-upload them. It would take up a lot of space. Now, don't have to worry about any of that. I can't, the only thing, I can't rename the streams, so it is just called My Stream, which is a shame. Because I can't change the settings on it, but... So, who is going to come out on top here in Monza? We will find out in a minute's time. As I need to work out, there's a screen share feature that I want to work out, because then I can do like replays with different clips and things like that, or like in breaks like this I can have a look at good moments from Monza. So I'll try that. I'll try and sort that out for next week. Here we go then, formation lap starts, and the tension arises in the drivers as well as the temperature of the engine and the tyres. Who will come out on top? We have Flobberlob on the mediums. Let's have a look at the tyres that everyone has gone for in the race. If I can get it up on the thing. There we go. So everyone apart from Alex, Mr. Towers, Hank, Christy should I say, and Psycho, all of them have gone on tyres that aren't mediums. So one of them, Alex M, has gone on softs. So that's very interesting strategy wise for him. He'll have a good start, but then he'll drop back, I reckon. The hard runners though, they're gonna drop back at first, I think, but then they might be able to carry their tyres longer, and this might help their strategy. And also they could use medium tyres later on as well, which will give them a good chance to get ahead of some of the other medium runners, as long as they keep the pace up compared to their medium runners as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very intense race. We'll keep an eye on it, especially between the two that you're seeing on the screen now, Mental Sun in the white and Flobberlob in the green. Also keep an eye on this battle between the Ferrari, this McLaren, that Red Bull, and the Mercedes here. Let's keep an eye on that battle, because that is going to be one to watch, as well as a crazy midfield. This is going to be a race to watch. Let's see who's going to come out here in Monza. Luxiux gets disqualified from the formation lap. And take the tyre graphic off so that we can see more of the screen and see more of the action that is about to unfold. Turn 1 is always chaotic, so we are due some chaos. Here's the Sauber of Mag Thatcher lining up on the grid after his 5-place penalty, and lining up a little bit. Squeg, he's going for that outside to try not have anything go wrong for him. We have 5 laps coming on in front of the drivers, and for the Italian Grand Prix, it's away. And it's a decent start by Flobberlob. Mental Sun might have had the jump, and he has. Mental Sun's got the jump on Flobbelob. He'll have a roll on him heading into turn 1. As there's a bit of contact there between the leaders. The Ferrari and the McLaren are side by side as well. G Shifty, Graham Shifty down the inside. Mental Sun down the inside at Curva Grande. Side by side at over 180 miles an hour towards the Rossia chicane. Downshifting. Who can break the latest? Who can keep the most momentum? They're still side by side on the exit of the Rossia. But it's Flobbelob ahead. And it's G Shifty who has snuck through on the outside to take second from the disadvantaged Mental Sun. So Mental Sun in third. G Shifty surprises everyone and goes from 4th to 2nd within the first lap. Incredible start by G Shifty. As meanwhile we have one of the Alpines making a move on the Mercedes and spinning, and there's a pile up as cars are everywhere. There's Arimus has got hit in that as nearly 3 wide further back, but the Alpine of who was it? Alex M, having contact and spinning in front of the pack. Arimus runs into him and breaks his front wing. Meanwhile, Alex M and Henk, should I say, both struggling as well. It's drama for the Alpine team and the Red Bull team, as their only drivers, or one of their Alpine drivers has been hit. The other Red Bull on his own today for that Red Bull team. He's now down in plumb last and has it all to do in the last 26 laps of this Grand Prix. We have one of the Williams going over the chicane in the background. Lots of positions being moved as there's the yellow flag for the Williams of Henk Huppelskoten, who has gone over the chicane. We have the Alpine of Alex M. Oh, no, is Alex M down the inside making it stick. Sykes-O trying to hold off Benolds and doing so for now, but Benolds looking to make up a position up into 11th and get closer to... Oh no, he's going to go up into 10th, should I say. Sorry for that. He's going to end up in the points-paying positions if he can get past Psycho. And he's going to do so for now, on board with the wrong car. Here we go. To the outside of the Ascari chicane. And that is both Aston Martins now in the top 10. The other Aston Martin up in front, but he's trying to pull away from G Shifty. As... just realised the gaps aren't, so the gaps were to the leader, now the gaps are to the driver in front, and now we have Bryus with the Ferrari in front of him. This is the closest battle on track according to the telemetry, but is it close enough for a move? He's to the inside of turn 1, but no move made. They snake their way through the first chicane, no moves made there. Meanwhile there's battling in the background with the Williams of Henk getting past Christie, but to the outside of the Curva Grande, on board with the Mercedes over the shoulder of Bryus, who's now heading through the chicane behind the Ferrari again, looking for that 4th place, but not getting it so far. As round the Lesmos, all these men on the mediums, as the man who was on the softs, Alex M, now down in 9th after a spin with this Mercedes on the previous lap. We head now down towards the chicane as round 4. Is that Henk Huppelskoten? It is Henk Huppelskoten, who has spun at just on the exit of the 2nd Lesmo, and he's now lost a lot of time to the car in front of him. Meanwhile, his teammate Raikkonen trying to make a move. Oh, he's just been passed by Mag Thatcher in the Sauber, and now Raikkonen's going to be under threat from the car behind. That is the Alpine of Alex M, the better of the Alpines, trying to battle the better of the Williams cars. As meanwhile there's battling for the lead potentially, as G Shifty trying to make the move on Flobbelob and not doing so. There's battling in the background side by side, it was there, with Mag Thatcher and Raikkonen. As now we're on board with the Alpine, no moves made here. Well, they are just all separated by around 0.3 of a second in each of these groups. The top group for the lead and the bottom group for 7th place. Henk Huppelskoten in the pits. That means Arimus is not in last anymore. And Mr. Towers round. Mr. Towers is off and he's beaching the car on the chicane. He's now gone from potentially a points-paying position to now down in 12th. He spun on the exit of the La Roggia chicane As meanwhile, there's a yellow flag, and what has happened to Henk Huppelskoten? He spun in the straight. Is he trying to cause a safety car? I'm not too sure, but he is definitely an excursion on the racetrack right now. Meanwhile, Shifty, Graham Shifty being a bit of an excursion to Flobberlob's mirrors, as he's tries now to the outside of different lines being taken there out of Parabolica. That's interesting to see. The toe being used here by Graham Shifty, trying to use the slipstream. Meanwhile, battling in the background with the Ferrari and the Mercedes, but no moves made yet. Meanwhile, they're side by side with Mag Thatcher and Raikkonen nearly making contact in the first chicane, but they come out unscathed. Alex M is in the pits after his early contact with some of the cars like Arimus and Brias. He's in the pits getting off of those soft tyres, potentially onto another set of mediums or hards. Remember, you have to stop, you have to make one pit stop in this race, and you have to use 2 different coloured tyres in the race as well, or at least 2, unless it rains. If it rains, you can stay out on wet tyres for the entire race and not have to pit, but because it's dry, they do have to use at least 2 different coloured tyres, 2 different compounds of tyres as it's called. But Knowles has got past the Raikkonen, so a decent move there by the Aston Martin, who's on the up. He was fighting for P10 a couple laps ago, but now he's snuck his way up in all the dramas. There's a Haas way off wide there, Sykes-O going right off into the runoff area at the exit of Ascari. Meanwhile, Mental Sun is actually very close to G Shifty, who's now struggling to stay within the DRS gap of Flobberlob, and if that happens, Graham Shifty will be really holding up a train of cars. But out of turn 1, the 88 V-Carb trying to get ahead of the Mercedes McLaren. Is he going to make it stick as he's to the inside and to second place? Decent move by Mental Sun. He's now back in the leading battle after losing the place to G Shifty at the 5th corner on the first lap. He's now back up into second and now back on the chase to catch up to the man in the green car in the lead. Meanwhile, there's a green car holding up a bit of a train here. There's a little threesome for 6th place as G Shifty and Mental Sun swap places again. I didn't see that coming. Mental Sun gets passed by G Shifty again, and now they're side by side on the exit of Ascari. Meanwhile, Bernolds in the Aston Martin has just got ahead of Mag Thatcher, but we're going to keep watching this battle as rounds Parabolica has contact with the Ferrari and the V-Carb. The Mercedes now going to go through. Through goes Brias in all of this. To the inside of the Ferrari. They're 3 wide heading into turn 1. 4 wide into turn 1. Who's going to be the first one to break? First one to break pays for the meal. And it's Mental Sun to the outside who keeps it in front. Luko Siux up into 3rd. G Shifty has gone from 2nd to 4th, which is where he qualified. And Brias is now all over the back of the McLaren. And the McLaren flashing his red light, trying to harvest DRS. As you can see with the yellow bar on the steering wheel. As most of them using loads of DRS in that incredible battle. As the McLaren and the Mercedes battling out. This is the battle between Mag Thatcher and Bernolds. They've been swapping positions in the background of the shots. So while the leaders have been battling, these two have been battling like crazy as well. You might have seen on the leaderboard these two names swapping positions for P6 and P7 as the Williams now looking for a move. The Aston Martin to the outside. Is he going to make the move stick? Side by side into the Ascari chicane, and Bernolds gets ahead up into P6 as wide for the Sauber there, and he's nearly lost the car, and he's now got a Williams bearing down his neck, heading down into the Parabolica corner, nearly making contact. Bit of a dart to the sides for Mag Thatcher, but he's now gone from 6th to 8th in the span of half a lap, and now he's into the pits with G Shifty and Brias, and Brias comes out ahead of G Shifty. Not too sure what happened there, but Brias ahead of G Shifty, after all of that in the pit stops. Not too sure if G Shifty got held there, but there's Sykes going past. Oh, and there's the Alpine of Alex M getting it a bit wrong on the exit of turn. No, this is Christie, should I say. Getting it wrong at turn 1 there, getting a bit crossed up. This is actually Alex M, who's now ahead of the recovering Arimus, the owner of this league. But yeah, let's see how the other front runners react to this then. Flobberlob, Mental Sun, and then the Ferrari of Luco Siux, who has put in a pretty good drive here. Pretty respectable. As out of Ascari here on lap 8. Let's see who will come in the pits. Let's ride on board with Flobberlob. Will he dart into the pits? This man's quite known for taking tyres further than anyone else can. And he is staying out as predicted. This is Mental Sun. He is also going to stay out as well as the Ferrari. So no one reacting to Brias and G Shifty's pit stop on the first lap after. Maybe that waiting a couple laps. Maybe they've still got pace in those mediums as Raikkonen into the pits, but he now has a penalty to contend with. 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is as where is the ERS? He's talking about the telemetry thing at the bottom. I would get that up, but I feel it obstructs the view of the battles. If you would like the ERS, I can ride on board with cars a bit more, and you can tell by the yellow bar on the steering wheel, as you can see underneath the green bar. And as you can see, Arimus is under threat from Alex M, and as you can see, the yellow bar is much darker compared to the yellow bar on Alex M, who has a lot of ERS saved compared to the Red Bull. We have Mag Thatcher catching up to the Williams of Raikkonen, and Thatcher to the inside. These two have just pit, but they're still battling it out for whatever position they'll end up in, as this is currently for P12, and Thatcher wins out on this occasion. Here's Alex M with the DRS heading into the Ascari turn. No move made. The front 3 drivers on the grid, however, they all stay out. They don't pit for now. They are able to take their medium tyres further into the race, further than G Shifty and Brias were able to. There's a spin for Henk Huppelskoten, who's gone in the wall nearly at the Rogier chicane. Meanwhile, back with the gaggle of cars, and it's 3 wide as Christie now ahead of the Haas. And the Haas now, Sykes gets a bit boxed in, and Brias goes through, and he's now going to go round the outside of Christie. This is a bit like traffic in the World Endurance Championship, but G Shifty and Brias scything through the pair of them, as now the Alpine now looking for a move, not going to make it stick. The Haas here, the Toyota Haas, nearly making contact, and now his teammate's going to get involved in the action. So chaos between those cars as we have into the chicane here for Thatcher, as meanwhile Henk Huppelskoten, as G Shifty gets ahead of Brias in the Mercedes, as Huppelskoten into the pits with Luco Siux. So Siux in the pits with Huppelskoten. And where is this Ferrari going to come out in comparison to the McLaren and the Mercedes? Huppelskoten retires from the race in the pit garage. Benold takes 3rd place for the moment, side by side with the McLaren and the Mercedes, and they are both going to get ahead of Luco Siux, but they are on older tyres, so they might get caught later on. But Brias up into P4, and that could be P3 if Benold's pits as well. It might not be P2, as Mental Sun is still out there going well, as he's actually catching the leader a little bit on this lap compared to the leader pulling away, which is what we've become accustomed to in this race so far. We have not a lot of changes in the grid for now into the Rogier. A battle between the Haas and the Alpine, Christie and Sykes making contact, Christie should I say, making contact with the Haas. So Psycho Lead's staying behind Icky Christie. Into the Rogier chicane. Meanwhile, we have as Flobbelob and Mental Sun into the pits. As Alex M is going very slowly there, not too sure what's happened, but he's been passed by Arimus and Luco Sierks. Meanwhile, let's have a look at this pit stop battle then. Flobbelob, where is Flobbelob going to come out compared to the two behind him? Here's the Mercedes, but he's now got the McLaren on his back. Side by side again down the straight. It's G Shifty winning out in this occasion. Mental Sun has been overtaken by G Shifty, and Flobbelob side by side with Graham Shifty heading round turn 1 and 2. They keep it side by side on the exit, but it looks like Flobbelob will get the lead only just out of turn 1 and 2. Shifty there with a sniff of a chance of the lead of the race, but Flobbelob denying him at this point. They slither through the Rogier chicane and going quite well. Right on board with the V-Carb heading out of the Lesmo complex. Are there any moves being made in this battle between Thatcher and Raikkonen, which is now for P9? Not at the moment. Just having a look. Here's Arimus. No, Arimus isn't close to the Haas yet to make a move. It is just a battle for the front four. Alex M gets a penalty, becomes the 5th man in the race to get one, and he is now behind Arimus. So, obviously, he just got ahead of Arimus. I'm not too sure what's happened there. Oh no, he might have fell behind Mr. Tower. Not too sure what happened there. Meanwhile, here's the Mercedes. 1, 2, 3, and 4 cars flying past, and they're within 3 seconds of each other. Big move by Mental Sun. I think he just missed his braking point there. That wasn't meant to be an overtake. That was very close to it, whacking the Mercedes. Almost contact, but just getting away with it. Lucky man is Mental Sun. Meanwhile, side by side with Raikkonen and Thatcher again. Thatcher ahead of the Williams for now. As meanwhile, the McLaren, the silver McLaren ahead of the silver Mercedes. Heading round, over the curb. Nothing being made of it there. Meanwhile, into the Ascari chicane for these 4. 1 car, 2 car, 3 car, and 4. But Mental Sun, let's see if he can get any closer to Briars. Let's hope he's not added degradation to those hard compound of tyres after that lock-up on the previous lap. Here's Briars. He looked for a move on G Shifty, and it's left him vulnerable. Mental Sun to the inside of the exit of the Parabolica, and he is now within a great chance for the podium. G Shifty hasn't got DRS, and it will be 3 wide into turn 1. Who will get P2? It will be, Mental Sun's gonna try and make it be him if he can, and he does. Great stuff. Mental Sun goes from P4 to P2. 2 cars checked off the list, and now it's just the leader in front of him. Arimus in the pits again here on lap 14. As into the chicane and cutting the corner is Graham Shifty. What has happened there? I think he missed his braking point, but that is very comical. That looked like something out of Mario Kart. Graham Shifty. So the driver's really struggling under braking on these hard tyres, because that's the second time we've seen someone completely miss their braking point and just pray that they don't crash and act on it. Mental Sun locked up and nearly went into Briars a couple laps ago, and now G Shifty just there and missed his braking point and cut in the corner to avoid any contact. I'm surprised he didn't just go deep and just try and take the penalty that way, but maybe he was trying to not lose as much time. I'm not too sure. But Briars versus Shifty going again here on lap 15. Briars hasn't got any DRS, and he's not even trying. He's just saving the battery and being absolutely passed down the straight by Graham Shifty. So Briars gets passed by Shifty. Although Briars quite close in the corners. He might be able to catch up heading into Ascari. Also, don't count out Luco Siux in the Ferrari. He's also catching up as Mr. Towers in the pits. And that's just reminding me that this battle exists. Bernald's now back on the tail of Raikkonen, who's gone on the grass and missed the braking point as off wide. And there's off for the Williams there. So the Aston Martin and Bernald's ahead of Raikkonen behind Maggie Thatcher. And that is absolute horror show there for the Williams crew, who have lost one of their drivers already. And have not lost the other one yet, but nearly lost him. As meanwhile, G Shifty and Bryce has got ahead of G Shifty. I thought that would happen, as half a lap ago he got past on the straight, but he was saving his battery, and he has now got back past the McLaren. But can the McLaren clap back with a move of his own? Meanwhile, Bernald has just got past Mag Thatcher. So both Aston Martins now in the top 7. Incredible stuff. Meanwhile, on board with the McLaren, the Papaya car down the straight. He's gone for the outside and flies past Bryce into turn 1. Great stuff from the McLaren man. As Miss Lewis from Retro Racing, he knows all too well how punishing Monza can be in a league race. As I'm trying to think of, he was involved in quite a few battles, wasn't he, with Kai and with other drivers in Retro, and Max as well in Retro. He had quite a bit of contact, but yeah, that is, he was involved in a lot of battles in Retro, in Monza, and he knows what this track is like. He knows, as someone has gone off, I think. No, not too sure what happened there. It's not gravel on anyone's tyres. I'm a bit confused on what happened there, but someone else who's going to be confused is G Shifty, as he's going to see a Mercedes rear wing in front of him now, as Bryce gets ahead heading into Ascari. But is Shifty going to be able to get back ahead of him on the front straight? This is just like a carousel. They just go round and round each other until the bitter ends. Oh, we have Christie in between the Hasses as well. Keep an eye on that battle for P10, as they are actually swapping places. So we'll cut back to that battle in a minute, but side by side with these two, and Shifty is back ahead. Meanwhile, the battle here, these three looking very feisty indeed, as Towers just lost the position to Christie. Tower, who's been rather good in the midfield. He's finished P5 last time out in Austria. He's down in P11 today, struggling here at Monza. Heading out of the last corner then. Who's going to make the move heading into turn 1? Also, don't count his teammate out for later on, but it is going to be a straight fight between Towers and Christie, and it's Towers who will win out on this occasion into the first corner on the outside, and the Alpine is now shoved back into a Haas sandwich. So, meanwhile, Mental Sun, he's closing sometimes on the leader, but not closing enough to make a move. Someone else who is closing is the Scuderia Ferrari, the hometown car, closing in on these two in front, the Brackley-based outfit of Mercedes and the Woking-based outfit of McLaren. These three could be battling like they were before, 4 wide earlier on, heading into turn 1, as Raikkonen gets a penalty. Bryce into the pits. So those hard tyres didn't last long for him, and the second phase of pit stops has been triggered by Bryce and Alex M, who's also in the pits. Recovering from his spin earlier, Alex follows Bryce into the pits, and potentially, I'm not too sure strategy-wise how this is going to play out, but we will find out. As meanwhile, we have Raikkonen here. Where's he going to come out? He comes out behind Bryce, and that's good, because that's one less car for him to be clearing, and he is in cleaner air, but he does have this battle between Thatcher and Bernalds to watch out for. Meanwhile, we have side by side, nearly 3 wide here. Careful, lads, as the Haas trying to make a move on the Alpine of Christie. Arimus gets ahead of the pair of them and goes up into P11. Psycho Leds now ahead of Christie, heading out of turn 2, now round the third corner of Curva Grande. Is any move going to be made? Oh, he looks for the move on the inside of the Rossia chicane, but no move made there by the Alpine. But the Haas of Psycho, you saw him there get a little bit slidey on the exit of the Rossia chicane, and he now dips it in the grass as well. So nearly contact, but nothing made there. Meanwhile, side by side with the McLaren and the Ferrari, Luco Siux gets passed by Graham Shifty. Good stuff there by him. Meanwhile, heading out of turn 2. Meanwhile, heading out of the last corner, Bryce now, he cleared Mac Thatcher on the Ascari chicane, I think. But he's now cleared Bernolds on the main straight. And he is now looking to overcut G Shifty. Meanwhile, also look at the gap of the lead as well. The gap for the lead is closing between Flobberlob and Mental Sun. That's been closing lap after lap after lap, but over strategy, I think Mental Sun lost a lot of time over strategy last lap, and he went back into the position he went in at the start when he was just stuck in that gaggle of cars between the Ferrari and the McLaren and the Mercedes. But Flobberlob in control of the race at the moment. The Ferrari and the McLaren, however, trying to find a way past each other. 3:10 separating them. Luco ahead of G Shifty. Shifty has a penalty though, so that could hurt him later on in the race, depending on if the other drivers around him get a penalty or not. And he is now going to dart into the pits. So Shifty in the pits. Let's see what tyres he goes on. Bryce went in for another set of hard tyres. Shifty comes into the pits, and what tyres does he go on? That's a set of mediums. So interesting, the last 7 laps of this Grand Prix covered on the medium tyres for Shifty. And is he going to come out ahead of Bryce? Bryce is going to come out ahead of him. But on the medium tyres, is Shifty going to be able to clear him and Bernolds, who might have to pit in a lap or two? But if he doesn't pit, then that could be a big headache for Shifty to have to overcome. Meanwhile, the leaders here nearly getting very close, nearly under a second now, and that is going to enable DRS in a couple of laps. So this could be very beneficial for the pair of them, as Mental Sun and Flobberlob, are they going to be battling in the last few laps, or will Mental Sun lose time in strategy? Let's see what happens. Who's going to pit between these two? None of them pit for now. Meanwhile, Bryce ahead of this battle between G Shifty, should I say, and Bernolds. This battle between Alex M and Raikkonen is getting close, but not close enough for an overtake yet. Not as close as the McLaren is to the Aston Martin, as the gap for the lead as well. Look at the gap between Flobberlob and Mental Sun, 0.5. That's the closest it's been since the start, and that could mean that a move is being made in the coming laps. To the outside goes Graham Shifty on Flobberlob's teammate Bernolds, and Bernolds has lost 5th place to the McLaren. Side by side between the Alpine of Alex M, who goes ahead of Raikkonen heading into the first corner, and Arimas, I don't think he's close enough to make a move on the Haas of Mr. Tower, so Tower will stay ahead into the pits for Christie. But what is this going to turn out to be? The battle for the lead, the battle from Austria, now looks to be continuing here in Monza, as Waite saying that Monza is a one-stop race. And if so, then Bryce and Shifty have both maybe ruined their races in terms of battling with Luco Siux. In that case, if Waite's wisdom is correct, into turn 1, nearly locking a break and going deep there is Sun, but he is going to stay behind a lob for a bit longer. Meanwhile, this battle between Arimas and Mr. Tower is hotting up. Two very good drivers who are on the wrong end of the midfield today, but have shown in their pace and their racecraft that they're very much invited on to around 5th place. Meanwhile, look at this. 2 tenths separating the leading cars. who have pit onto tyres that are pretty much the same age as each other, bar a lap or two. Oh no, they pit at the same time, should I say. So, meanwhile, there's battling. Arimus does get ahead of Mr. Towers into turn 1, and Towers has wing damage. Not too sure what from, though. But he must have had contact somewhere. As Waite saying that the end may be interesting with some puncture-based tyre management. So, if the tyres aren't saved over these 5 laps, the punctures could come into play and plague the result. And it depends how much these two battle as well, and how much Mental Sun is in dirty air for. But they both got DRS because of that lapped Alpine, which is gonna hurt Mental Sun heading into turn 1. And he locks up under brake in there, but Christie getting out of the way under the ghosting mode of the game. But is that a potential run round Curva Grande for Mental Sun? No, it isn't. He seems to have a bit more drag compared to Flobberlob, although he's got the slipstream. It's not going to work for him. Heading into the second chicane, and he dips it in the grass and the gravel, as you can see, and that will hurt the tyre in that regard as well. Heading around the second Lesmo, this is the closest battle on track. The only as Raikkonen into the pits, so that's why you're seeing a change of position. As Raikkonen will also lose the place to Mag Thatcher in the Sauber, so he'll drop out the points momentarily. As now heading out of the Ascari chicane. 4 laps to go. Which lap did they pit? Let me find out for you. Wait, as I've got controller stick drift here. Sorry about this. This might take a minute or two. What am I doing? And it's lap. Oh, I've hit the wrong thing. No moves being made, it looks like, by Mental Sun. There we go. So 12 lap old hards. So they pit on lap 12. And as you can see, they're both on the same age tyres. Lucas Yerkes, meanwhile, he pit a lap before these two, and he's still staying out for the 1-stop, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a puncture, because if he gets a puncture, these two might be in danger. But look at the gap between the pair of them. But meanwhile, the tyres screaming, says Waits. As you can see, the grip might fade between the pair of them, as there's a pass. Alex M gets ahead of Bernolds heading through turn 1 and 2. As you can see, Bernolds there, dipping in for clean air. Meanwhile, is this... Oh, they're not side by side, but I think they are with how close the gap is between the pair of them. They are nearly touching front and rear bumpers, as lap 26 may be epic. I think the whole end of this race will be epic. Now, let's see what will happen on the exit of Parabolica. I think this could be the first move for the lead. Flobberlob has led every lap so far, but is he going to lead on lap 25? Mental Sun catching rapidly. He's carted to the outside. Flobberlob has the inside line. They touch heading round turn 1 and 2, and he gets forced off the track. Mental Sun forces the Aston Martin off the track onto the grass and takes the lead, and he is the first person to lead. That isn't Flobberlob, but that was aggressive by the VCARB driver here on lap 25. And is Flobberlob going to be able to come back from that? He's been in control of the race, but he's been forced off on the grass. I don't think he picked up damage from it, but it was very robust by Mental Sun, to say the least. But these two locking horns, as they did in Austria nearly, under the whole tyre strategy thing, where Mental Sun did a 2-stop strategy, Flobberlob did a 1-stop, and they ended 4 tenths away from each other in favour of Flobberlob. But let's see, will these two be able to take it to each other into turn 1 for lap 26? Let's have a look. 6 tenths separates them. I'm not too sure if that's close enough or not, but DRS will be enabled, and 5 tenths, 4 tenths, I think it is close enough for Floblob to have a go at Mental Sun. No, he doesn't have a go. I'm surprised at that. Lock up by Mental Sun, as you can see with the smoke. And nothing done there. Also, I just realised the gaps are different. There we go. As there's a battle between Benold and Alex M that could be happening. There's a spin for G Shifty. Graham Shifty, or no, that's just a yellow flag popping up for no reason, I think. So ignore that. I don't think Graham Shifty has had much of an incident. Might have just had a slide. Like a half spin, but not a proper spin, as he is still ahead of Alex M by a decent amount. But heading out of the Ascari chicane here, half a second separates them. It's not close enough for this straight, but it might be close enough for the next straight. As now to 3/10, depending on how they get out of these last few corners. As he needs to recharge at the last chance. Yeah, as you can see, the yellow bar is longer for Flobberlob, so that means he'll have more ERS boost to use down this straight as he flicks it into overtake mode potentially on the exit. Now goes over the DRS line, and now, oh, there's DRS for the lap car in front as well. That's going to really hurt Flobberlob on this final lap. Sykes-O in the Haas might have just cost Flobberlob this race win. And out of a very unexpected turn, the lapped car might have just, because Mental Sun got DRS from being behind the lapped car in the detection point in under a second. So this could have cost Flobberlob the race, but he is still within 0.2 of a second of that win. Last 2 laps of the race, and it looks like it's swung the way of Mental Sun here in Monza. And Flobberlob, who's led the majority of this race, even when he nearly lost the lead to G Shifty on the exit of the pit stop, he still kept the lead, but on lap 25 he's lost the lead, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it back. Here on lap 27, all laps complete, the 88 V-Carb will be the first man to take 2 wins out, will be the first man to take 2 wins in this season of Slav Talk Racing out of Parabolica. Mental Sun over the line, wins the Italian Grand Prix. Flobberlob by 0.2 of a second loses out. And Luco Siux, great strategy by him, and I thought I was seeing a puncture then, but he has done a strategy wonder to get ahead of Bryus and G Shifty and the men, and these guys who were 4 wide with Mental Sun at one point, now separated by well over 5 seconds. Bryus comes home to take P4. G Shifty, after a very competitive race, goes over the line in P5. Alex M crashes over the line to take P6. Benold gets a 10-second penalty. Oh, it's an unserved pit stop penalty. That will put him behind the recovered Arimus, who had that crash with Alex M at the start with the wing damage. Then it will be Mag Thatcher in the Sauber to come over the line next to finish in P9 potentially. Yes, in P9. Then comes Mr. Tower over the line in P10. Not his best state, but not his worst. He's over the line. Decent so far. Then comes the last man to finish the race on the lead lap. That is Kimi Räikkönen over the line. What a race. As I'm not too sure if Mental Sun could maybe get a post-race penalty for how aggressive turn 2 was and how egregious it was. But at the moment, Mental Sun will be the man on top. The Polish man will be ahead of the Brit here in Italy, should I say. As the Scuderia Ferrari, the hometown car, finishes in P3. What an incredible race. Here at Monza, the champagne is sprayed, and the sweet taste of victory for Mental Sun. He is the first man in this league to win 2 races in this season. He won in Brazil, he's now won in Monza. Your race winner is the V-carb of Mental Sun. Your fastest lap was done by the McLaren of Graham Shifty. The driver of the day was Maggie Thatcher, and that's well deserved. The most overtakes done by the Haas driver of, I believe, Mr. Tower, yes. Then the cleanest driver was the man who lost the lead in the second last lap, and it was Flobberlob. What an incredible race here in Italy. Let's check the race director and check this. No, didn't get far enough. Okay. So that's the Italian Grand Prix for Slav Talk Racing, and that's that. Any last things in chat before I'm not going to end the stream yet, because I'm going to do a commentary on a Formula Asphalt race in a minute, so tune in for that. But it is only the highlights package, it's not an actual full-on race like you just saw. Yeah, what an incredible race then. Mental Sun catches the race lead late. I've lost the oh no, I haven't lost it, it's here. There we go. Right, let's commentate on this. Right. Welcome to Formula Asphalt in Japan for the custom cars tier for the first time, and we're ready to go. We have Tame Super Jazz in the, I'm not too sure what his car name is, I'll have to check later on. Nice and cleanly. Mozzie in second into turn one ahead of the Marussia of Joe. Then comes the Mangrove of Ashley Curtis. Moz and Tame battling it out. Joe in the Marussia car going well ahead of Ashley Curtis. Tame ahead of Moz ahead of Tame, and Joe into the gravel on Degner. Meanwhile, here on lap 2, Joe heading through, Ashley heading through, all clean so far. But they head out of the Degner corners as Joe heading around the hairpin, trying to catch up to Tame. Ashley dropping back a bit in that Mangrove car, but Moz heading down ahead of Tame as lap 8 here for Joe, who's defending from Ashley Curtis in that number 3 Marussia car. So it's Marussia versus Mangrove for the win today, for the third place today. And these two who have battled many times before in many different leagues like Green Army, and many times in Formula Asphalt in its history, when Joe owned it, when Ashley owned it. They've battled like animals before. Will they battle like animals again? Joe ahead of Ashley for now. Skip to lap 13. Ashley gets ahead of Joe, but Joe with the DRS, is he able to catch up to the purple car ahead of him? He looks for a move. He dives for the inside and shoves Ashley nearly off the track. But Ashley's still on the inside. They keep their foot in, heading round the S's section, and Joe gets ahead of the Mangrove car. Here on lap 15, Ashley got back ahead of Joe under DRS, but Joe fighting it out with the Mangrove car. Now heading around the Dunlop corner and side by side into Degner, and Ashley backs out. Surprised he did that. As now Joe gets back up into the podium places here in Suzuka. Here we are on lap 19, and Joe has got off on the exit of the last corner, and that gives Ashley third place in Formula Asphalt. Joe finishes in fourth in the Marussia. What a great race for Formula Asphalt. So that's that one done, and then I'll do the Late Breakers Club Riverside tier of Belgium in a minute. Here we go. Welcome along to Belgium in the Riverside tier of the Late Breakers Club. This is the race for Joseph Singh in the Williams. Let's see what happened to him in this race. As here we go then. 5 lights on. Joe in 8th. It's front row for Arimus and Andolai, and it's a decent start by the Williams. The Ferrari on the inside of Cardelf looking for a move. Lots of cars go to the inside. Joe sneaks around the outside of many cars and goes from 8th to 5th in the first corner. Great stuff there as there's a car off. I think Eagle involved with a crash with Silent Assassin. As into the pits for one of the Aston Martins. Joe ahead of Joe ahead of Cardelf, but behind Arimus. He's in a Scuderia sandwich at the moment. Now into lap 6. Joe falls behind and round the outside for the Haas, and he nearly takes him off and goes into the pits. That's probably tyre degradation hurting him and hurting the Haas as well. The Haas went nearly going off there. Joe here on lap 12 trying to catch up, and he nearly spins. I think he did spin. No, he didn't. He just half span on the exit of turn 7, heading round the Malmedy hairpin and into the no-name corner. Here we are on lap 18 then, and we're behind the safety car after a crash for Alan, and the rain decided to come into play here in Belgium. So Joe capitalised on it very nicely there. Cardelf was quite badly hurt by the safety car, and Luco Siux, who you just seen in Italy. But meanwhile, side by side with Joe and Cardelf heading into the last corner, round the outside for the Williams car. Is he going to keep it there with JP? JP tries to hang it out, makes contact with the wheel of Joe, and Joe gets ahead of JP on the exit of the bus stop with 2 laps to go. As now Joe ahead of Arimus, battling with the Haas. These 3 battling like animals, and nearly contact between Arimus and Joe. So Joe has to watch out. Now he's trying to get onto the back of the Haas driver. In front, there's battling between the McLaren of Ammon and the Alpine of Shaggy. As now out of Radion corner for the Williams. Who's going to make the best move? Joe going to go to the outside of the Haas. The Ferrari of Arimus to the inside of the Haas. It's 3 wide into the Lecombe chicane. Joe to the outside, and he goes flying off at the chicane. But I think he keeps the position. Joe in P6. Great stuff here in the Late Breakers Club. And that's that one done. So I think that's it. Let me check chat. Let me check stream as well, just to make sure it's all good. And make sure there's no other chats or anything like that. Nope, I think we're all good. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in on the stream, and thank you to anyone watching this back. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you all in the next one, which should be on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not too sure, so keep an eye out. And yeah, also read those adverts at the bottom corner. I'll reiterate the message for those two as well. Tune in on those dates and times, and you'll be able to hear me there. So yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye.